All right. Well, the saying food is medicine is so powerful.
Mm.
And I feel like neither of us really truly understood what that meant until we began diving deep into the certain foods that we ate. And especially when we began eliminating highly toxic foods or foods that were causing inflammation and gut issues. Today, I really want to get into how foods can support your health and well-being, or they can be really harmful and detrimental and cause dis-ease in your body, because there's definitely a disconnect, especially on social media. I see a lot of influencers, people who are, nutrition coaches and nutritionists, even doctors that will post infographics saying, eat these foods that are heart healthy, or eat these foods to help your gut. And, I remember a client texting me once, okay, my doctor said I need to introduce foods that are going to support my gut. And it's like, all right, that's great. I can give you tons of that, but let's pull back a minute and let's identify those foods that disrupt your gut microbiome. Because if you're not eliminating the foods that cause inflammation and dis-ease in your body, there's only so many oranges. There's only so many oranges and only so many collagen and certain supplements you can take. It's really eliminating. And when I began identifying with her the foods that were causing the gut issues, it completely changed her mindset. Because it's very similar to that saying, like, you can't put a Band-Aid on a broken arm. It's not the same, but
it is now. That's our new saying.
But that's what it is. So it's, yes, your doctor is completely right. You got to get your gut back into place, getting, all those little gut microbiomes working in your favor. But to do that, if it's already disrupted with the toxic vegetable oils or the gluten that you're eating, you can't introduce more into your diet without the elimination, because your body needs to detoxify itself.
Yeah, you're just adding more variables. You're just throwing more things on the fire. I think it's important to just sort of say, like, to be clear, like, those things are good. Like, those foods, like, we're not saying those are wrong. Like, those, you see, like an infographic.
Oh, it's amazing.
These are gut healthy foods. They usually are. Like, most of this information is pretty good. Like, there's foods that are really good for your heart, foods that are good for your brain. But yeah, like you're saying, if there's a problem, sometimes it's a deficiency in foods that you need. Usually it's too much. Yeah, if your gut, the gut's a great example. Because first off, like, even like the doctors and scientists don't really know like what's going on. There's a lot of things that we're kind of guessing on.
Yes.
But we kind of do know that like eating fermented foods and stuff like that is going to be really good for your gut. But also, it doesn't matter how much sauerkraut you're eating if the other foods you're eating are tearing apart your gut.
Exactly.
And like really, really common issues in the gut are like gut permeability, like leaky gut.
Leaky gut, yeah.
Where it's like literally like the things in your gut are leaking into your bloodstream and into your body and poisoning you. So if that's the case, if your gut is leaking and all these toxins are getting into your bloodstream and making you sick, adding, some bone broth or some sauerkraut or some yogurt, while it is a good, healthy thing to do, isn't going to fix the problem. In the same way that, like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. If, like, every day you wake up and you, like, walk through a thorn bush and you, like, rub your back against a thorn bush and you tear yourself up, and then you're like, I have all these cuts, let's put Band-Aids on. And you put Band-Aids on all the cuts, and then you turn around and you walk back and you scrape yourself against a thorn bush again. It's like, what the hell? I need more Band-Aids. And eventually you're going to be covered in Band-Aids. That's not the solution. The solution is to stop rubbing against the thorn bush, stop tearing yourself up.
That's a good analogy that you just came up with.
Thank you. I just made that one up on the spot, and I feel like it makes sense because those cuts they might heal, but there's just going to be, for every one that heals, you're going to get 2-3 more. Or once you stop cutting yourself, then you can focus on healing. And then you're going to heal faster, and then the healing is going to last. Treating your gut is the same thing. It's like, first, let's eliminate the things. And what like those could be, maybe you're drinking too much alcohol, maybe
Yes.
it's soda, maybe you said gluten before. Gluten is terrible in your gut. And just these foods are literally going to tear holes in the lining of your intestines.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing you can do is eliminate those foods.
Yeah. And it can be challenging because food is such a comfort for people. And that's what we're but we realized very quick on in coaching. And it's really just coming from the bottom of our hearts, like that we want to heal people. I never ever want to make people feel badly. And I think that this is where I went really wrong in the beginning of coaching, because I was such a people pleaser and was like, okay, well, you can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that for your comfort. But it's like, no, I'm doing you a disservice. You're hiring us and you're paying us a lot of money. So I have to speak my truth.
Yeah.
And this is it. We say everything is interconnected, things are really complicated, and it is. But right now we're talking about how to have optimal health for your diet and correcting either imbalances in your gut or building immunity, lowering inflammation. It's all about eliminating. Mm-hmm. Like this, it's that simple, that it's eliminating things that are disrupting. So a lot of times too, we'll get people, regardless of our clients, just friends and family, like when cold season hits and it's the winter.
Yeah.
Okay, cold season's here. I want to make sure like my immunity's up. Like I know oranges or like those vitamin C supplements, like what else can I take?
Yeah.
And it's like, great, you're being proactive and that's amazing. And have a glass of, fresh squeezed orange juice in the morning or just simply an orange. That's amazing. But be very cognizant of what else you're putting in your body. If you're eating cereal for breakfast, if you're going out for lunch and then coming home and having pizza, those are all foods that are really detrimental to your health, and it's gonna lower your immunity because they're chock full of processed foods and vegetable oils. Those are the things that cause dis-ease and disharmony in your body. So if you're having an orange every day, but also eating the pizza, cakes, cereals, and cookies, your immune system's gonna be weakened. Yeah. And it's the truth, it's the harsh truth, but eliminate those. Make sure your diet is on point, especially in the winter. And we see that for people who are in climates that get a lot of snow, and you can't go sit out in vitamin D in the sunlight and absorb all those nutrients. Like, winter time is really a pivotal point in keeping your health optimum by what you eat. Yeah. Again, if it's someone's birthday and you're celebrating, you want to have a piece of cake, great. But not having that every day is going to be beneficial. It's really eliminating all of the vegetable oils, all of the gluten, all of the packaged and processed foods that have added sugars and things in it. That is the best. That's going to give you immunity in itself. Then when you add in vegetables, fruits, high quality pasture raised meats and quality cheeses, that's giving you life. Mm-hmm. But you have to allow your body to detoxify. Detox what's caused the gut disruptions, what's caused the inflammation, what's caused an imbalance in immunity. Yeah.
Yeah. What's taking away your health? Like what's separating you from a state of health? And I think it really, really helps to kind of like to simplify for a little while. And just like, because cultivating awareness of the things you're putting into your body and how they're making you feel is, I think, one of the greatest skills you could have when it comes to like nutrition and food and health. Mm-hmm. Because and that's really like, I think we learned so much, because you can only like read so much. Mm-hmm. Eventually you have to do. So it doesn't matter, like you can go study nutrition all you want. It's not going to help you if you're not really aware of how you're responding to the things you're putting in your body. So to really, really simplify and eat very few foods, and I'm talking for a little while. We're talking like personal experiments, 30 days, 2 weeks to 30 days, not for the rest of your life. Like I don't want people to be like, God, this is nonsense. Because once you cultivate that awareness, you can then reintroduce things and have a whole new perspective of what's going on in your body. And it empowers you so much,
Mhm.
which is, what we want for everybody. We want to empower people to be able to control their own health.
Yes.
So I think by like taking some time to eliminate some foods and kind of figure out what makes you feel different ways, then you're going to notice that it's like, okay, we talk about like cold and flu season, but it always tends to be maybe like the day after that birthday party where you start to get the sniffles a little bit, or like, oh, it's like I was doing fine until I ate that pizza, or I went out and had drinks after work and then woke up and wasn't feeling good. And it's like, oh, most people are just going to throw their hands up in the air like, oh, it's cold and flu season. This is what happens. Germs are everywhere. But it's more so an internal thing that you knocked yourself out of that state of health. And then you can kind of reassess, like, is that pizza worth it? And some people will say yes.
Yeah.
I don't mind having a cold for a week if I get to eat really good pizza.
Mhm.
And some people are going to say, no, pizza, you're going to feel good for a couple of minutes and then I feel lousy and I might get sick and not going to be worth it. And you're going to make healthier decisions based out of love for yourself, not quick comfort and like something tastes good or feels good in your mouth.
Exactly. And I think it's just to kind of wrap up and give examples of the foods that are going to cause dis-ease and inflammation and basically weaken your immune system. It's as simple as things that are highly processed and modified. Vegetable oils, any vegetable and seed oil is going to cause severe damage to your body and inflammation. If you can cook your own meals, or if you're buying packaged foods, make sure that they're either cooked in coconut oil or avocado oil or
beef, like beef tallow, ghee, butter, animal
yes,
fats, pork fat, bacon fat.
exactly. Alcohol is a huge inflammatory.
Yeah.
Gluten,
Yep.
any type of gluten. There is no difference between white and wheat. The whole wheat can be a little bit better if it's not as processed, but white flour is just bleached wheat flour.
Yeah.
So
like the white flour is always going to be worse, but the other flour isn't necessarily better, if that makes sense. And I do want to kind of get into a little more detail on that, but I don't want to.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I just think like we talk about GMO foods and wheat specifically. I think that like there's a lot of disconnect as to what that means. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times, because it's almost like marketed in a sense of like, oh, this is like a GMO, a genetically modified like tomato is going to be bigger, redder, juicier, more flavorful. So it's almost like these are the science foods. They're better than the other foods. When we're referring to like GMO crops, especially grains, especially wheat, and this is why gluten is such an issue, they are genetically modified to hold on to and not die from pesticides. So it's these crops over generations, since World War II, when we took these chemicals that we were using to kill people and burn villages, and we're like, what can we do with all these chemicals? Let's use them to kill weeds. And we took the same chemicals, brought them here, and changed the way that farming is done. So since World War II, all farming in the Western world has been completely altered to the point where we're just spraying crops nonstop with poison. And what happened, sort of over time, like we took the crops that were surviving and genetically modified wheat in general by breeding them to end up with only wheat. The only wheat left and existing was wheat that could soak up chemicals that are poison, soak up poison without dying. So I hope I kind of worded that right. But when we're saying genetically modified, we don't just mean like the bright apple and the bright tomato and the big bananas. We're talking about like all wheat, if it's not like really, really high quality, organic, biodynamic, and like heirloom grains, then this wheat was specifically modified to hold more poison. And that's why it's so dangerous. And that's why the gluten specifically, there's now more gluten in wheat than there was a few generations ago. And it's more devastating to our gut. So, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, I don't have celiac disease. I'm not gluten intolerant, so I should be eating gluten. And you get a lot of pushback from people
Yes.
where it's like, oh, well, I try to avoid gluten. They're like, well, I heard that gluten is good for you unless you have celiac disease. So I just want to be clear on that. Like, the gluten that's in our diets now is not the same gluten that was in people's diets 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it used to be like bread and grains used to be a lot healthier than they are. Now, they're literally soaked with poison. And it's things that, like, this isn't like some crazy conspiracy theory.
Oh, no.
This is like Monsanto has paid out billions of dollars in charge in lawsuits. Thank you. Yeah. Because glyphosate
and Roundup
Roundup, which is it's the same thing. Yeah, good point. Roundup and glyphosate is killing people and causing cancer at very, very high rates, and that's because the crops have been genetically modified. So, just so people, so we're not like a crazy like organic zealot. It's just like organic is important because quality of food is important because we want to eat less poison, which gets back to our point of adding things in isn't always the fix. It's like let's take the poison out of our diet. Let's eliminate as much of these crops, and meat is a big one. Wheat and gluten.
Yeah, I think that was great. I think that's something that everybody needs to be educated on because again, we didn't know this until a couple years, and we're still learning new information about this. So yeah, gluten is definitely one that disrupts your gut, is highly inflammatory, and now like you said, people are waking up to this. People are realizing it. There are so many gluten-free alternatives. Like I'm so happy that they're there, and like there are companies that are making really good quality foods that are gluten-free because it's helping and it's helped us so much, and it's given us the opportunity to present options to our clients, our family members, our friends. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so gluten, another big disruptor for that causes inflammation is any type of margarine or shortening that's not like organic, raw, grass-fed butter.
Yeah.
That's huge. Any packaged foods. And I'm talking about chips, candy bars, ice cream, cakes, cookies, anything that's going to come in a package is going to have a lot of added ingredients and modified.
All the preservatives and the additives and things like natural flavors, which aren't natural at all and are not healthy, different dyes and coloring. And that goes for like protein bars and granola bars too. Things that are marketed as healthy aren't necessarily healthy, and usually aren't, because healthy foods don't usually need a marketing campaign. You don't see like billboards for like apples and bananas. Right. It's like the billboards are for like granola bars and protein and stuff like that. So just be wary of anything with a marketing campaign. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think really the whole purpose of this episode was just to educate people that you can Google anywhere. You can go to your doctor and just say you need, you have a cold and you need to boost your immunity, or your doctor says, you do have some inflammation. Let's get some foods that are going to be anti-inflammatory. You can find those. Your doctor probably can provide you with, or your dietitian, nutrition coach, anything. But what's going to be most important is identifying the foods that are causing the inflammation, the gut disruptors, which we just listed, and eliminating those first, because that's going to help detoxify your body. Once your body's detoxified and rid of those things, it doesn't take long, within, 14 days. Yeah. 30 days is optimal if you can do it, but just cutting out gluten for 14 days, I mean, how beneficial is that? So it's really eliminating those things, allowing your body to naturally heal itself by not putting in the foods that are disrupting it, and then adding in all of the immune boosting foods, the gut, foods that are going to help with your microbiome, the anti-inflammatory foods. That's going to be great, but it's also it's really just elimination. It's like the simplest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can wrap your head around it.
But like your body's always going to find help. Your body is highly capable of healing itself, of finding equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it's a matter of getting out of the way. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, stop poisoning your body is equivalent to getting out of its way so it can heal itself. And then, exactly what you said, you can help your body heal by adding in like some really good bone broth and some ginger and garlic. And there's really, really healthy medicinal foods. Like we talked about, like food is medicine. So you can always come back around to adding those things in to support yourself.
Yeah.
And I'd add kind of like, even with adding in the things that you want to add in, go as natural as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It like, rather than like a product like Emergency or something like that, you can eat oranges.
Yeah.
And you're going to get probably so much more benefit and less of the additives, the preservatives and the dyes and that kind of stuff. So it's just a little simpler way.
Yeah.
And easier.
And it's a lifestyle change, and it will be a little bit challenging maybe for some people to eliminate at first, but knowing that it doesn't have to be forever. Right. And when you eliminate things, just as we did, we thought that our diet was on point years ago. Yeah, and then when we started eliminating things and then adding things back in, you quickly realize how they make you feel. And if they are making you feel bloated or gassy, if you're, farting or burping too much, or if you can pretty much feel inflammation when you've eliminated something and then adding it back in. But that's the most empowering thing. That's what you were talking about before. You're allowing your body to recognize the foods that are either aiding in your well-being or causing you disease.
Yeah.